Commander Nation, minicamp is in the books, right? We about 4 to 5 weeks away from training camp, from a rookies report and as well as from a veterans report. And the Commanders wide receiver room is already turning into a pressure cooker, young. Because this ain't just about who can catch passes in shorts. This just ain't about who look good in OTAs. This ain't even about who makes the final 53. This is about roles. This is about jobs. This is about what happens when one potential move can push an entire room down a depth chart. And that one move is Brandon Aiyuk, none other than. Now, let me be clear from the jump. Aiyuk ain't a Commander yet. All right? So I ain't about to break, his whole game down yet. All right, once he become a Commander, best believe we gonna have that on the channel in full effects, huh? But with all the smoke going around San Francisco and up and down the fan base and different content creators, talking about the Aiyuk situation. And Aiyuk clearly needing a new situation, Y'all see him on IG. All right, and with Washington sitting there with JD, Terry McLaurin in the wide receiver room, they still trying to figure itself out, man. And we got to talk about it, fam, because if Brandon Aiyuk, once he becomes a Commander and Adam Peters makes that call, everybody not named Scary Terry gets pushed down a spot. And somebody going to have to go. This Gerard B TV, I'm your host, Gerard B. Son, let's get right into this joint, son. So originally, I was going to talk about the whole roster and all the bubble battles going on across the whole roster. Wide receiver, secondary edge, linebacker, running back, offensive line. Then I was like, dog, nah, the wide receiver joint hot right now, young, because we got the Brandon Aiyuk situation, and they said they're going to release him before training camp, and I was like, all right, but we need to talk about these wide receivers, because don't get it twisted. Those other battles matter. Percy Butler versus Tyler Owens, that's real. Javonte Jean-Baptiste trying to survive that edge room. Kane Medrano, Ale Cahoe trying to survive the linebacker situation. Come on, Jerome Ford in the running back situation. Man, look, it's real, bro. There's some shit going on in the squad, bro. But the wide receiver room got to get its own movie right now, because this thing got drama. It got roster math, it got special teams, it got temporary roles, it got future roles, it got projection, it got conjecture. It got Aiyuk standing in the doorway like, yo, y'all want me? Where I gotta put my bags at? He already in VA. You know what I'm saying? He about 10, 15 minutes from the crib. Shout you out, full command. You know what I'm saying? And that's why we gotta isolate this bad boy, because Aiyuk doesn't just add another receiver. Aiyuk changes everybody's job description. And that's the whole video right there. If he lands here, when he lands here, your wide receiver 2 battle becomes your wide receiver 3 battle. Your wide receiver 3 battle becomes your wide receiver 4 battle, and so forth and so on. Obviously, wide receiver 5, 6, 7, 8, they sweating. Your practice squad hopefuls, they starting to do math in their head. They're like, man, maybe I shouldn't even came to this squad. Shouldn't even have took that little contract. And the coaches got to ask a bigger question. Who can help us while Aiyuk gets up to speed? Obviously, the man hasn't played football in damn near 2 years. So he, regardless of whatever shape he in, he healed from the injury, but he got to get in football shape. He ain't been going against no NFL corners. And then you got to see who still has value once Aiyuk is fully ready, because Aiyuk going to be, once he gets ready, he going to be on the field. He's a volume catcher of the football. And we all know how JD worked. JD throw to his primary target 70% of the time. Now, David Blau probably going to try to open that up a little bit more so it's spread about. But that's for another video, all right? But that's the battle right there, man. That's the battle right there. And let's start with the easy part. Let's start with the easy part, Mo. Terry McLaurin is the only true lock in this wide receiver room. That's it. That's it. Terry is wide receiver 1, El Capitan, tone setter, boundary dog, professional, the standard. Terry ain't competing with nobody but himself. You know what I'm saying? And the legends. You know what I'm saying? Everybody else is competing around Terry, though. And that matters, because when you start talking about Brandon Aiyuk, you got to understand that first domino does not touch Terry McLaurin. Terry can play outside. He can win intermediate. He can be the chain mover. He can be the leadership piece. He could be the guy Jaden Daniels trusts when everything gets muddy. So when I say Aiyuk pushes everybody down the spot, I mean everybody after Terry McLaurin. Terry's the only name written in Sharpie, homie. Everybody else joint, y'all like in pencil. And some of them pencils got erasers ready to go. All right, they got erasers ready to go. I ain't even gonna hold you like, woo, shit. It's crazy. Because how many wide receivers we keeping? 6, 7? Like, we gonna keep 7 like 2024? Definitely an interesting conversation to have, Mo. Definitely an interesting conversation to have. Because this is where the Aiyuk effect gets hella real. All right, because before Aiyuk, you can look at this wide receiver room. My bad, I had a little. Before you look at the wide receiver room, all right, you look at it and you be like, all right, you got Terry at the top. All right. And then you can have it either way you want it. You know what I'm saying? How I got it in my head is you got Antonio Williams. You know what I'm saying? Now, this is not in order, quote unquote, because I feel like a Treylon Burks and a Van Jefferson, they are boundary type wide receivers, if you will. You know what I'm saying? But how I got it in my head, in order of importance, if you will, Antonio Williams, Dyami Brown, Luke McCaffrey, Jaylin Lane, Treylon Burks, Van Jefferson. Then you got the UDFAs, Jacoby Jones, Chris Hilton Jr., and Jaden Bradley. Man, that's a lot of damn bodies, bro. That's already a log jam, all right? But then after you get to Aiyuk, and I don't really think no UDFA guy gonna make the roster. Shout you out, Lou. You was on the same wavelength as me. I saw your stream earlier today, bro. Earlier on Tuesday, Holmes. All right, look, that's already a log jam, young. Like we... Now look, it looked different after you get Aiyuk. You got Terry, Aiyuk, then you got Antonio Williams, Dyami Brown, Luke McCaffrey, Jaden Lane, Treylon Burks, bench. Everybody got pushed down the spot. If you notice, you see the squeeze. You see that squeeze, man. All right, because Aiyuk ain't coming in to be nobody wide receiver 4, 5, 3, 4, 5. No. He's not coming in to be a gadget piece. He's not coming to be maybe I'm going to dress up on game day. As much as 49ers fans be in my mentions on Twitter talking about, oh, wait till you see how crazy how crazy Brandon Aiyuk is. Man, I'm going to have to put something just up on the screen for y'all. They've been going at your boy. You know what I'm saying? I don't be fighting them, young. You know what I'm saying? I get it. When we lost Trent Williams, I was hot. You know what I'm saying? At least we was able to trade Trent for a bag of chips. They finna give Brandon Aiyuk up for Nathan. All right, Nathan Aiyuk Manis. Hey, but look, listen. All right, once we get Aiyuk, son, that's a starting caliber wide receiver. That's a top 15, former top 15 wide receiver. You know what I'm saying? Like, shout you out again, Full Command, because I was checking you out on your joint, and you was talking about 85% of Aiyuk is still Terry McLaurin's best season. Still Terry McLaurin's best season, but we got to get Aiyuk up to speed. We ain't going to see turned up prime Aiyuk no time soon. You know what I'm saying? Again, football shape. Got to get football reps against real NFL caliber talent, all right? So the question becomes, who is the temporary secondary boundary receiver while Aiyuk gets up to speed? And then once Aiyuk is right, who can still help this team as the backup boundary receiver, the sub package guy, the vertical shot player, the motion piece, the blocker, the special teams contributor? That's why this is not just about who's the best receiver. It's about who the best football player. All right. This is who has the clearest, you know what I'm saying? Like, because in the NFL, when the roster gets tight, talent alone don't save you. Roles save you. Special teams saves you. Trust saves you. Availability saves you. And that's where this wide receiver bubble gets hella messy, Holmes. Like, hella messy, son. Hella messy, son. So this wide receiver 2 battle, temporary wide receiver 2 battles. Let's talk about it, because this is one of them that matters before Aiyuk even steps on the field. I don't think he gonna. If we signed him and we got him before training camp, ideally, son, he'll be ready week 1. Ideally, even at week 1, I'm not expecting 100% Aiyuk. Still not expecting it. I'm really not expecting this to week 3 against Seattle and shit. You know what I'm saying? And that's gonna be a tough game to get right on. You feel me? Unless David Blau and Jaden Daniels is doing what I'm hoping they're doing, which is absolutely twerkulating. All right. All right. But again, this matters before Aiyuk even steps on the field. Somebody got out on the opposite Terry McLaurin. Somebody got to give Jaden Daniels another boundary target. Somebody got to win against press, threaten vertically, blocking the run game, and not shrink when the pads come on. And that battle to me is between our rookie Antonio Williams, our old work that's back, Dyami Brown, much more humble Dyami Brown, may I add, Treylon Burks, Van Jefferson. That's the real room right there, home. That's the real wide receiver 2/boundary battle right now. Luke McCaffrey and Jaylin Lane, they hella important, but I don't view them the same way in this specific conversation. Really, Antonio Williams as well, but I know he can do both. So that's why he in there. But Luke and Jaylin, they got role value. They got package value. They got special teams value as returners. And they got movement value, being able to play outside as well as inside and do different things in the game. Blocking and getting active at yards as a catch and things like that. Shoot, we seen Lukey going crazy last year before he tore his collarbone up. You know, so and Jaylin Lane talking that talk like, yo, I'm been working. So hey, if you get Jaden Daniels trust, man, you might get some love. But when we talking about a true boundary spot while Aiyuk gets ready, that's gonna be Antonio, Dyami, Treylon, and Van Jefferson. And whoever wins that role early is not gonna keep the same role all year. And that's the key. Because once Aiyuk up to speed, that player might become the backup boundary receiver. If you Treylon Burks, or you might become that's really the wide receiver 4, wide receiver 5. You know what I'm saying? A heavy personnel type guy, or you a guy only at certain packages, or do you move? You know what I'm saying? You just slide them down to the slot again. You know what I'm saying? And now you got an interchangeable piece like Antonio Williams. So now you got a wide receiver 1 interior, wide receiver 2, and Brandon Aiyuk, and then you got a wide receiver 2C. You know what I'm saying? And Antonio Williams. You know what I'm saying? You see what I did there? You see what I did there? But you gotta have a guy. You know what I'm saying? Now, obviously, that's the nasty part of the job, son. That's why the GM and the coaches get paid the big bucks, man. Is to figure out what jobs truly matter on this team. All right, because they trying to win a job that's still going to exist after Aiyuk walks in. So they got to project. You know what I'm saying? You talking about conjecture, boy. So let's talk about Antonio Williams right quick, because he is safe-ish for sure. But I need people to understand what that means. My man ain't comfortable. He don't get to chill. You know what I'm saying? Now, because he is the most recent draft pick, he got all the luster on him. You know what I'm saying? He got way more enough value to be on this roster, obviously. He definitely not one of the guys that's going to get squeezed out of this roster by any means. You know what I'm saying? Behind Terry McLaurin, he's the next guy that won't be squeezed out this roster. But he still got his own battle. All right? Can he be trusted outside? Can he handle the physical corners? Can he win enough as a route runner, even though that's his game? Can he be more than just, hey, yo, we like his upside type player? You remind me of a guy who we loved his upside in Jahan Dotson. You know what I'm saying? Don't be Jahan Dotson. Be Antonio Williams. That's what camp is going to tell us straight off the bat. Because Antonio gives us the speed. He gives you the juice. He gives you that developmental upside. Also, he gives you some special teams possibilities as well. Remember when we used to put Santana Moss back there on punt returns, and that was the juice? You might be able to put Antonio Williams back there on kick returns next to Luke, or replace Luke right quick once in a while, and he get to do work. You know what I'm saying? Also, but in a room where Aiyuk is eventually going to take a major role in this offense, right? Where I'm talking about he going to take a lot of the target shit. That type of flexibility matters, because if Antonio ain't the full-time boundary guy, now he can slide into the slot, still using sub packages, still be a field stretcher, be the energy piece, be the move piece, and can still contribute on teams, because you know that's what our team is built on. Our special teams units is dominant, son. So that's why I don't have Antonio in the same danger category as others in this video, but he is still in his own battle, son. He's not battling for survival the same way. He's battling for usage. Okay, pre and post Aiyuk, because the more Jaden Daniels trusts you, son, no matter when his mans get hit, he's still gonna be looking for you. And if you know anything about JD, man, I did some research on my guy. Again, my guy throws to 70% of his star targets, man. It was in 2024 it was Terry McLaurin, Zach Ertz. That's who got the ball, son. That was it. I mean, some other people got the ball here and there, but the lion's share of the target, son, over about 70% went to them players, bro. So if you trying to crack that and you trying to be one of the players he looking at, you know what I'm saying? You want to be part of the Terry McLaurin, the Brandon Aiyuk, the Chig Okonkwo, and then you get Antonio Williams. You could be part of that foursome. And don't forget the fifthsome, that's going to be Rachaad White. So he going to have his favorite targets to throw to. You want to be one of them, Antonio Williams. You want to be one. Because you know who else has a really good connection with JD, who's making waves at camp? It's Dyami Brown. Because it get interesting for him because he helped himself. Again, I told you, Dyami came in hella humble, son. That Jaden Daniels connection matters, man. When your quarterback trusts you the way he does, that's not no little side note, man. That's currency, bro. If you notice why Brandon Aiyuk is so gung-ho about coming to Washington, it's the JD connection. It's the trust he got in the quarterback. All right, and Dyami, you know what I'm saying, already got that vertical ability that you look for. You know what I'm saying? He can stretch the field. He can make defenses respect the deep ball, which opens up the middle of the field for players like Chig Okonkwo, Rachaad White, Ben Sinnott, slot receivers like Antonio Williams, Luke McCaffrey, you know, Jaylin Lane. You see what I'm saying? You see how that works? He can give the offense explosives as well, and that's something that is very important in flipping the field. So in a normal wide receiver room, Dyami Brown's stock is clearly up. But in Aiyuk's world, the Dyami conversation changes just a little bit because he may not be fighting to be the clear wide receiver 2 anymore. I know we did a video recently talking about Dyami Brown was the wide receiver 2 leader. That's pre-Aiyuk, though. You feel me? PA. He might be fighting to prove he is the best vertical package receiver or the best wide receiver 4-5 type option, or the guy who can give Jaden Daniels a trusted shot play when defenses start cheating up. You know what I'm saying? That's the difference. Aiyuk doesn't mean Dyami is out by any shot, but it could mean Dyami's role changes, man. It gets narrower. It gets more specific. But he got to dominate that role if he wants to be on this team. Hence his contract. That's how you survive a deep room. You can't just be pretty good at a lot of things. You got to get a coach reason to say, yo, we need that. We need that specific thing that you bring on game day. Dyami's specific thing is speed, vertical trust, and the connection with Jaden Daniels. If that keeps up in camp in about 5 weeks, man, he's going to be in a good spot. But if other guys start closing that gap, fam, that squeeze gets hella real for Dyami, young. And I would hate to see it for him the whole time. Then you got Treylon Burks. Might be the biggest swing in the entire room. The X factor. Not because he's the safest, because he's the most volatile. All right? The man got the body type in his room that don't nobody got. The best size profile by you know what I'm saying, size, strength, former first round traits, boundary build, big slot receiver, run after catch potential, strong receiver, mismatch ability. If you design a temporary boundary receiver with Aiyuk ramps up, Burks makes hella sense on paper, son. Hella sense. He could be that big body outside receiver who could box out bounds, catch a jump ball, catch the fade route, be your red zone threat. He could block. He could be the type of receiver that changes the physical profile of the entire wide receiver room. But with Burks, the sentence that always gets him is, are you healthy? Because if healthy, he could push for a role. If healthy, he could be the best early boundary option outside of Terry McLaurin. If healthy, he can make the room look bigger, nastier, stronger, meaner. But if he misses time, if he's inconsistent, if he can't separate, if the injuries start to show up, then the same thing that makes him intriguing also makes him dangerous. Because a deep roster does not wait forever. And our roster is hella deep. Adam Peters did not build this thing for sentimental roster spots, bro. up and down the roster, it's competition, and it's going to be a lot of players, a lot of good players that's cut. A lot of good players ain't even going to make the practice squad. Burks has to make the coaches believe the upside is worth the rest, Mo. And that's why I keep saying Treylon Burks is y'all like the story of the room. Not because he guaranteed, but because he can change the math either way. Either way, he can change the math. Straight like that. All right, now you got Van Jefferson. And this is where the business side of football shows up with steel-toe boots. Van is a veteran, straight up. He knows how to run routes. He understands spacing. He gives you that professionalism. Hence DQ. You heard DQ raving about him at the end of minicamp. But in this specific room, with this specific Aiyuk ability, yo, Van Jefferson is the most vulnerable vet, son. Because what is the job? What is his job? That's gonna be the question. If Aiyuk is not here, Van can sell you on veteran depth and a clean camp. But if Aiyuk come here, now Van got to beat out younger players with more long-term upside. Think about that for a second. He has to prove he gives you more than Dyami Brown's vertical connection, more than Treylon Burks' size, more than Antonio Williams' upside, more than Luke and Jaylin Lane's versatility. That's a tough room to survive in as a vet. And I'm not saying he can't do it. Veterans survive every year because coaches trust them over the young guys. But he gonna need a clean camp. He can't have no quiet days, no disappearing acts. We're gonna have to hear about him every day. When I go out the training camp on August 1st, I'm out that joint. Please pull up on your boy. You know what I'm saying? We vlogging. He better be out there dunking on Bahamas. All right? Listen, if the younger guys show up and Aiyuk becomes a real thing early in training camp, Van Jefferson might be the guy standing around when the saxophone stops. And there ain't no chair left, Mo. There ain't no chair left, Mo. Like, that's a shame, man. They signed that man. If you notice, the last 3 guys got 1-year deals. If you notice that. You see how that worked? You see how that worked? Now, let's talk about Luke McCaffrey and Jaylin Lane. Because I got them safe, but I got them safe in a different way. All right? They not safe because they locked in the starting boundary receiver positions. That's not the case. They safe because they give you role value. Luke McCaffrey is that Swiss Army knife in the room. He can move around. He can block. He can play different spots. He can play outside. He can play inside. He can be using motion. He can be using sub packages. He gives you effort and versatility, and he's extremely athletic. And coaches love players that play through their face mask, and that's Luke McCaffrey. All right? He can be used in multiple ways, as well as a dope-ass kick returner. Okay? Jaden Lane, dope-ass punt returner with speed. All right? He got that versatility just like Luke McCaffrey. It's like they drafted 2 of the same receivers back-to-back years. All right? And then Antonio Williams is like the more polished wide receiver version of all of them. It's crazy, dog. It's crazy. And when you build a game day roster, you need guys like that. You need guys that can do more than just be a receiver. All right? Again, Jaylin and Luke, they can help tilt field position, man. You know what I'm saying? Be that motion piece, that gadget player. Man, listen. I'm not saying there is no battle there. It's always a battle. It's just a different type of battle right now. All right. They're fighting for roles, snaps, and usage. Now, if they have a terrible camp, anything's possible. All right. But Van Jefferson, Treylon Burks, and Dyami Brown are fighting in the danger zone. All right. Of the Aiyuk squeeze, man. And that right there is the difference, homie. Now, we got to start talking about these potential stats and shit. Ooh, we about to get to that right now. All right, now before I give you my final bubble predictions, let me do something different real quick because I did about 30 simulations on this AI tool here, right? And I was just like, man, I'm gonna mess around. I'm gonna give it different factoids. You know what I'm saying? The schedule, Brandon Aiyuk signing, the friction between, you know what I'm saying, Jaden Daniels historical versus David Blau, his philosophy and things like that. So it's very interesting. You know what I'm saying? I might even do a video on kind of like some of the factoids I found out between Jaden Daniels and David Blau, like how they, you know, the friction that may exist. That might be a good video to do in a couple days, man. I might do that. Let me know if y'all want to hear about that joint. But all right, so let's talk potential production. Now, I wrapped you up long enough, yeah. because roster battles are one thing. I said roster. But production tells you what type of roles these dudes could actually have. Everything breaks out. Now, I want y'all to remember, these is not no official projections. This is me and AI cobbulating, you know what I'm saying? So this is me looking at the role, looking at the skill set, looking at Aiyuk possibility, and asking, hey, what could these players realistically produce in this offense, young? So let's run through it, young. You got T-Mac, you know what I'm saying? Hey, shout you out, AJ DeBonster, who remind me of T-Mac, you know what I'm saying? Hey, Wizards, we got one. Once we know Terry wide receiver 1, Jaden Daniels takes another step forward, you know what I'm saying? I can see Terry on the high end. High end means that David Blau uses him something akin to what Minnesota and their West Coast offenses use at Justin Jefferson, moving him around endlessly. He's always avoiding double teams and unlocking his true vertical game. High end for Terry will be a career season, 92 receptions, 1,280 yards, 8 tugs. Now, most likely will be about 84 receptions, 1,150, 7 tugs. That remains steady heartbeat of the offense, highly efficient squad. Still top of the room. Low end, and that's if young, you know what I'm saying, things just don't look right. Now, it says Daniels defaults to scramble mode, and that's one thing they said that he would have to shake, which is not wanting to take the check down to, say, Rachaad White or the quick pass and things like that, or fails to distribute on time. That's if he's really having a really bad season. So I would say the average to high end is obviously most likely. The early schedule friction is something I do think is a real thing because our schedule is not easy. Then first 6 weeks is crazy, son. First 11 weeks is crazy, for real. All right. So then you move on to BA. All right. Once he get here healthy and everything like that, he up the speed. Let's just say BA is about, let's say, 85% of what we known BA to be. That was about a 1,300, almost 1,400 yard receiver. On the high end, he gonna give us about 88 receptions, 1,190, 9 tugs. Right. What is BA known for? Flawless route running. He already got instant chemistry with JD, and he's gonna burn Bama's alive on single coverage. You ain't gonna be able to guard him. All right, and you ain't gonna be able to double him and Terry. Okay. Most likely 78 receptions, 1,020 yards, 8 tugs. Again, he's gonna command heavy safety attention. This is the thing I like about it. Even his average, with him taking a few weeks, he can still rack up 980 yards, man. Okay, even the low end projection of 780. Okay, guys, would have him still second on the team in receptions yards the last 2 years, which is crazy. That is crazy to think about, Javi. Like, that is crazy, bro. Like 60 receptions, 700. He would be pissed with himself if he had this season. 60 receptions, 780 yards, 5. He'll be pissed. All right, let's talk about our rook, Antonio Williams. Antonio Williams is interesting because they got his high end at 60 receptions, 710 yards, 5 touchdowns. That's an explosion for a rookie, son. For a 3rd round pick, that's an explosion, fam. All right. 50 receptions, 580, 4 tugs. I can like that. I can deal with that. That's real serviceable. Even the average of 490. Again, that would tell me that it's a lot of competition in the room. Because Luke McCaffrey's at, anywhere from 310 to 540. Luke was balling last year. They got Jaylin Lane anywhere from, I'm going to say average to high end, because I don't think low end is going to be respectable to these guys. 260 to 480. Like, if you see what I'm saying, like, and now this is where it get funny because they show Treylon Burks and Dyami Brown, y'all like not really having no real productive type shit, which makes a lot of sense. You know what I'm saying? Like, high-end Treylon Burks, 25 receptions, 310. All right, 3 tugs. That's a reclamation project for sure. Dyami Brown, high-end is 160, son. What did that tell you? That's what Dyami Brown has been giving us. You know what I'm saying? So, again, this is all just to let you know, son, not just us think like this. So does the artificial intelligence that is like running the world, son. Okay? But that's why the Aiyuk piece matters. Because if he comes in, it don't just take targets away. He don't just take targets away. He takes oxygen out the room, son. He changes the ceiling for some guys. He changes the floor for some others, like Antonio Williams. But he turns his wide receiver bubble into one of the most important camp battles on the entire damn roster, son. Now we gotta talk about these long shots. Hey, now we gotta talk about the long shots. All right, your Jaden Bradleys, your Jacoby Jones, your Chris Hilton Jr.'s. Really, the undrafted guys who are not gonna make the 53. Okay, they're not gonna make the 53 because that's where the math get hella brutal, son. You bring in Aiyuk, UDFAs ain't making it, son. All right, these dudes can have real traits. They can flash. They can win reps. They can make you pause. They're gonna make splash plays in preseason. I'm gonna do some videos on them. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna tell you, they're a breakout candidate. They're a breakout candidate to make the practice squad. All right, you got to steal a job though. All right, once Aiyuk enters the conversation, man, that long shot path is hella hard, son. Pause. Because now the Commanders, they not just sorting 8 or 9 receivers, man. They sorting a room where one star addition could lock up a premium spot. That means Bradley, Jacoby, I'm going to call him Jacoby, and Hilton, Chris Hilton Jr., Jaden Daniels, Mans, they got 2 paths. Special teams explosion or practice squad development. And that's not disrespect. Practice squad players make bread. That's just the roster math, you know? And if one of them goes crazy in camp, man, we can revisit it. But again, still going to be practice squad. You know what I'm saying? They need a veteran to struggle. They're going to need injuries to take place. They're going to, God forbid injuries, dog. They're going to need special teams value. They're going to need to make coaches say, yeah, man, we cannot let this guy out the building. And that's a hard thing to do. But that's what training camp is really for. So I can't wait to see what's going to really pop off. All right. So here's where we at right now. Once Aiyuk happens, you know what I'm saying, the wide receiver room is going to be crowded. But the Commanders have more room to let the camp battles play out. Again, Terry is locked. Antonio, Luke, and Jaylin, they got real role value, real versatility. Dyami Brown got that connection with JD, right? Treylon Burks got physical upside. Van gives you veteran insurance. That's already a fight. Once Aiyuk happens, the board changes. Terry and Aiyuk become your top 2 when Aiyuk is ready and going. Then the Commanders got to decide who gives them the best blend of boundary insurance, special teams, package value, vertical speed, blocking, availability, trust with your quarterback, Jaden Daniels. And that's why my pressure list looks like this. Terry is the only true lock. You got Aiyuk as your wild card because he changes everything on this wide receiver room. Luke, Jaylin, Antonio, they safe, but still battling for usage and rep share and target share. Dyami, Burks, Van Jefferson, they in a battle, son. They in a battle, really, for one spot. You know what I'm saying? Terry, Aiyuk, Luke, Jaylin, Antonio, that's 5. If we keep in 7, you got 3 battling for 2. Then you still got Bradley, Jacoby, and Hilton. Okay? So they're trying to, you got those 6 guys battling for 2 spots. All right, and the first 3 I named, they in the lead of that. All right, and if you ask me who's the most vulnerable, it's gonna be Van Jefferson. Even though Dan Quinn shouted him out. If you ask me who's the swing player, it's gonna be Treylon Burks. If you ask me who helped himself the most, it's Dyami Brown by a mile. If you ask me who changes the whole room, it's going to be Brandon Aiyuk. And that's the board, son. That is the board right there, son. Now, I need to know something from you. Commander Nation, this wide receiver bubble is about to be one of the biggest stories at camp. We're going to do multiple videos on this situation. So I need y'all in the comments, young. Who do you trust more as your temporary secondary boundary receiver until Aiyuk gets up to speed? Is it Antonio Williams? Is it Dyami Brown? Is it Treylon Burks? Is it Van Jefferson? And once Aiyuk gets here, who gets squeezed off the roster? Son, drop your bold predictions in the comments right now. I can't wait to read them joints. If you want, we gonna do the full series on all the bubble battles, young. You already know how we do. You know what I'm saying? But this was the first one because it was hella juicy and I had to touch on it, fam. Pause. Hey, but you know how we do, man. Hit that like button. I need y'all to raise hell in the comment section. Hit the subscribe button if you new. Hell raisers, y'all know what we do, right? We raise hell on me and we raise hell on 3M. We out shit, son. Appreciate y'all for rocking with your boy.